And I think there's a snobbishness with reading. And I think there's a snobbishness with reading books. They are a bit outdated. They're a little bit like playing the spoons and tap dancing and the theatre. In that they were good once, but things have moved on.
The head's not quite on the right place. That's his little issue that he's got to work on for the moment.
My apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Look, I'm all for innovation, and I advocated putting a scrum half in the line out. It sounds great, but it's bollocks idea, really.
Hello and welcome to Under the Sticks, a podcast brought to you by Pro 14 Rugby. My name is Andy McGeady, and I'm here to concentrate on Connacht's great win in Rodney Parade. That was the big game of last weekend. Joining me today, I have Mr. Sean Holley. How are you?
Really good, thanks, Ant. Yeah, I really enjoyed the first round of Six Nations. Oh, bit of Pro 14 thrown in as a warm-up as well. Been busy. So, yeah, really looking forward to tonight's show and getting stuck into our listener comments, because I'm sure there's a lot of things to say on both sides, isn't it?
There'll be a lot going on in the comment section tonight. I have no doubt of that. Paul Williams, how are you?
Really well. My notes for this show have been longer than my column this week. I've been writing them for about 12 hours. There's a lot
world
to talk about.
135 world record. Mention the column.
That's savage. That's a self-promoting. It's genius. Who else do we have? We got Tim Visser coming in for a chat very shortly. There's a lot to talk about with Tim. We'll get through. Let's go through what we're going to talk about tonight. So we will have Tim Visser to talk about the Scots sinking England, chaos in Cardiff, Les Bleus. They were very, very good in Italy. Frankly, I'm a little scared going into this weekend as an Irishman. We'll be talking about Richard Hibbs and his hat-trick. We'll be talking about the Loch Lomond Whiskey Coach of the Month, inaugural version of same. And one of our hot topics will be asking if rugby lacks appeal when it comes to video games. There's something we've touched on before over the last couple of years, but we'll see. So here's the rundown for tonight. We are going out live on all the Pro 14 social channels tonight. Hello to some of the regulars in already. Michael Jenkins, hi from Pembrokeshire, West Wales. Rugby Among Glasgow, Bruce, very happy. Michael Jenkins, Wales. Connor Smith, hello. Harley Worthy, hello from Devon. Mac, hello. So let's get into it, lads. How was your weekend? It was good having the Six Nations back. It's been welcoming.
Yeah, hasn't it just? And it's sort of crept up on us because of obviously what's going on in the world. Probably a point, wasn't it? It's after Christmas. Is it going to go ahead? And so glad it has, because crowds not being there aside, it always throws it up, doesn't it? You know, I'm pretty sure the boys across the white line and they zoned in, and the crowds do have an effect. Of course they do. But it's all about the in between the four white lines, and we've seen thrills and spills already. You have to say that Scotland's an upset. Like I said on TV this weekend, Billie Jean was number one the last time Scotland won in England. No, that'll tell you a lot, And England aren't doing any moonwalks this week, are they? But and then of course the red card, France, insatiable, almost to the point of jouer, but with a little bit more. So it just tees it all up now. It's wide open. It's wide. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and do you know what? I gotta say, I didn't even notice that there weren't crowds there, because the rugby was so good. It really didn't bother me. I know a lot of people won't want to hear that, but it didn't. England, Scotland was wicked. France, Wales, Ireland was brilliant, and it was just great to see France back. I loved every minute of it.
Mac, straight in with a very topical question. How are we, gents? Been a while. Is this a 10-hour stream to cover anything?
Yeah.
Everything?
Well, put it this way, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and I've just had a litre of monkey blood put in as well into me PO. We're gonna be in for 12 hours.
It is one of those weeks. There was a lot going on in the weekend. Like it really was interesting. Like to go behind the scenes a bit. You know, we don't just sit down and start talking. We do actually sort of look back through the games and put notes together and stuff like that. There was a lot in not many games to get through, Sean.
The thing is, mate, there's sideshows as well.
Yeah, there are.
There's things that people missed. There's other add-ons. Okay, the Peter O'Mahony red card would have been absolutely the massive bit of news, but then Billy Burns having a shocking 5 minutes. Gareth Davis kicking the ball away, head gone. Bigger. So there's little sideshows. Then there's comments after the game. I see Simon Harris has put about Johnny Sexton's comments after he reckons they're poor. The coaches' interviews and where they sits for this week. Injuries that we didn't know about. There's knocks that we're hearing from the Welsh camp this week that, they're struggling in the centre to find one. Steve Fenwick's coming back apparently. So,
bring Jimmy back.
Yeah, there's a sideshow to it every week, which I love. And then, he's right, isn't he, Mac? 10 hours stream is not enough.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. So let's welcome in the fourth face on tonight's show. It's Tim Visser.
Here
Tim
he is.
Visser, how are you?
Hello. Thanks for having me.
It's like this is a good week to have Tim Visser in.
It's a good week for me, that's for sure. Jeez.
There are many ways that the last weekend's games could have gone, and in I'd say 100 versions of that game, that's a result you're coming out on the very, very pointy end of.
Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it? I think, obviously Scotland have been building towards something like this. They've taken a few scalps over the last couple of years, but to go down and beat England at Twickenham is just, the whole country, if we were allowed on the street, there'd be parties everywhere.
The thing is, though, Tim, good to see you, by the way, boy. The thing is, they totally deserved it. It's not like one of those...
They did.
Came back second half like 2 years ago, and they dominated the game, and it would have been a travesty had it gone any other way.
No, I agree, and I think for many Scotland fans watching that, it kind of became quite nervy in that middle of the second half. Can we hold on? Can we do this? And in the past, that's maybe where Scotland were given away. But I thought they were tactically superior. The kicking game, there was so much patience in their kicking game. They never forced it. But when they knew it was on, that's when they took the opportunities to do it. And the Murray try was brilliant. And I think that there's been so much in the media about all the kicking out of hand that England did, but it kind of just shows. And a lot of teams would have talked about this before these kind of matches, that if England can't execute their plan A, that doesn't tend to be a plan B, because they've been so good in that plan A scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, were you surprised by the manner of the victory, really? Because we know that Scotland can play attractive rugby, but they won 100% of their scrums and 100% of their lineouts, 15 from 15. That's a big achievement against England.
It is not something I can personally comment on, not having the faintest of ideas what happens in the scrum or in the line-out. But, there's some pretty big characters in that front row. You look at Xander Ferguson, he's been building and he's becoming a really experienced prop. And there's a couple more of those kind of guys that were considered youngsters in the last 2 years that have just suddenly got so much experience, and they're big lads. And I think, we're probably quite lucky that it was the first game, because, and I've said this before, there is some real quality there, but there is still not that much depth. And if we wouldn't have had some of these guys to hand, then the outcome could have been completely different, I guess.
Yeah, but it wasn't. And so many of us are so happy, because in those last few minutes, it just had the real look of it going, lads, this is still a one-score game. Scotland have missed a couple of penalties here to knock it dead. And then we got to the drop goal attempt, which I'm putting my hands up, lads. I thought it was the right tactic. But once that ball came back and it was up here, Finn, no, abort.
And you should know. Andy McGeady's been talking about this for the last 12 hours. This drop goal.
It was as ugly as they come, I guess. But time's ticking.
That's just born out of not being in that position, Tim, isn't it? they've got the game in their grasp. They sort of know what they're going to do. I was yelling at the screen, "What are you doing?" Just take it to the touchline, run it down, and if it comes back infield, when the clock is ready, kick it out, have a goal or shot.
Panic stations.
Yeah, I remember in the Auto Nations Cup, they beat Wales at Straddy incidentally, and they were sort of looking around thinking, well, we shouldn't really be winning this, but they dominated the game. But
what are we doing here?
That one now, Tim, might be the one that knocks the cards over and goes, do you know what? Yeah, we are worthy of being
here.
I
mean, you'd hope so. I'd certainly hope so. And I think, having Wales come to Scotland is good for us. I heard that there was a little bit of injury trouble. I heard you talk about Wales. Time to play Wales. They're a good team, but they're just slightly unsettled. And don't get me wrong, they won fair and square on the weekend, but it's just, I just think this can really kickstart things off for Scotland now.
You were watching it with Chris Robshaw first,
which made it even better.
Yeah. First, how did he take it? And B, why were you watching it with Chris Robshaw?
Well, we've let me just turn those two around. We've set up these virtual hospitality sessions for fans that can't make it into stadiums, into hospitalities, or even into their local pubs. So one of my very good friends, a guy called Richie Gletzen from Sky High Sports, owns a huge tour agency. And he thought, you know what, my business is decimated. I can't do anything right now. Why not have some fun? So he said, listen, this is what I want to do. I want to get a player from each team, get them online, we actually use StreamYard as well, and then get the fans involved, get them on there, and we're just going to run throughout the game. So we do 45 minutes preview, but we talk about rugby as if we're in the pub. So we talk about Chris Robshaw's career. We talked a little bit about my career. About the game, Robert being in Vegas at the time made that even more exciting, I guess. Yeah. But we've teamed up with some brilliant sponsors. We've got these big hampers of booze and food and merchandise going out to all of our fans, which has been really good. And then we've managed to secure some pretty good names, which basically where I came in, I literally just called around some of my friends from Quinns, which did the job. So it was me and Chris Robshaw for the very first one. Then this week we've got Johnny Beattie and Jamie Roberts, which I know you'll love, Paul.
Absolutely.
And the week after we've got Mike Brown, Gareth Anscombe, which is awesome. Week after that, Nick Easter, Benjamin Kaiser, and for the very last one, which was meant to be the big one, I guess, England, Ireland, Ian Madigan and Danny Kerr, but that might not now be the culmination. But we get these guys online, and on this Saturday it was me and Robbo. So Robbo was on a horrific line from Vegas, which kept cutting out, but he got everything in there. He kept coming on, and it ended up being all right. But he took it pretty well, to be fair. Robbo being the guy he is.
You might need somebody to replace Jamie Roberts for the next one. If we get any more injuries in the centre, he's in.
You about that. I just think, I started this campaign on Twitter where I said, Jamie in, get Jamie back in kind of situation. I got some of the boys to retweet it, but the guy's playing the rugby of his life. No. I mean, in the last 4 or 5 years, even when he was at Quinns, he had some good games, but the stuff he's piecing together right now is world class, especially for someone his age. He's getting on a bit, but he could definitely do a job there. And if you look at that game on the weekend, someone like him, just a run of 9 and run of 10, just to punch those holes and get Wales over the game line. Yeah. I mean, I'd love Pivac's number just to give him a call.
Well, we've spoken about it quite a lot on the show, and he's passing a lot more now as well, isn't he, Sean? Now he's at the Dragons. He's distributing the ball a lot more.
He is, but Tim's right. For this Six Nations, we are lacking ball carriers. And look, if Alan Wynne can do it at his age, and Dan Lydiard can be recalled,
I know.
And Johnny Sexton at 36 is doing it, and look, it all depends on how Tompkins scrubs up. George is carrying a knock, apparently. I'm informed. John Fox is obviously out. Johnny Williams took that head knock, so he's liable to be out. We got Owen Watkin then. we have to call somebody in.
Someone's got to come in there.
Get him to the 100 caps. He deserves 100 caps, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'm a good friend of his, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a crazy one.
Can I have a point of information on Sean? Johnny Williams taking a head knock.
I
think we'll come back to that one later in the show.
Yeah.
I better pour another Loch Lomond, yeah.
Good.
I was looking back though. I mean, Tim, you're still relatively young, but you were always kind of determined to. You are, my friend, compared to the rest of us poor Aegis in this show, right? But you were always fairly determined to retire young as well. You always said like you're going to play to 30 or 31 and then transfer. Why was that?
I don't know, to be completely honest. I always thought that with the way the game is going, I thought if I make 30, amazing. You know, I signed my first contract when I was 18, so it's a good 12 years. Brilliant. I'll take that. Fantastic innings. And actually, when I signed my 3-year deal with Quins from Edinburgh, that took me to 30. So actually 31, I think. So that was, you know, in terms of my career, I was like, right, tick, brilliant. I've done everything I want to do. You know, never got a chance for the Lions, but, you know, I played internationally, brilliant. And I probably didn't deserve that anyway. But, you know, I was happy. I was content. I'd done some really good stuff. You know, if you look at the way the game's going now, and even more so in the last couple of years, you know, it's brutal. You know, I watch rugby now, and I can watch it again now and enjoy it again now. I never used to watch rugby when I played, but now you look at some of these collisions, and you know, not just international rugby, but you look at the Premiership and even the Pro 14 at times. It's literally just head on head, bang, 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 big guys knocking each other out, and it's just. Now, I think the defense coach have probably ruined the game, but it's just not that attractive to look at a lot of the times. And when it is, it's obviously brilliant. It's the game we fell in love with. But a lot of times, it's just literally whoever is biggest and who can run the hardest straight into a brick wall. And I think for me, I've always put a lot of work on in the background in preparing for life after rugby. So I studied a lot. I tried out various businesses, some more successful than others, but it gave me a lot of experience, and I knew that there was a lot coming after rugby. And I think having had everything set up and ready in shape, sort of in those last 2 years with Quins, because I re-signed for another 2 years after that 3-year deal, and I got into that period where I had a knee injury, I got an operation, I came back, and you know, as any rugby player will tell you, the physios look at you and they go, "Oh, you're fit, you're ready to go." And it just didn't feel like that anymore. My speed times weren't that good anymore, and you know, I used to be really quite fast, and it just didn't feel like that anymore. I wasn't sharp anymore, and then I kind of got back into it under John Kingston. You know, really went again and got back to my old level, and then under Gustard. I mean, he had one look at me and he went, "Nah, you're not. I don't like you as a player." You know, going really well man to man. I thought he was a great guy, and I'm sure he thought I was a good guy. But as a player, he just didn't see it in me, and that can sometimes happen. But it just meant that I ended up holding pads on the training pitch, and I was playing cup games, and I was still playing Premiership and bits here and there. But I kind of felt myself slipping away, and I'd always said to myself, "Listen, you know, I'm not going to be one of those guys that hangs on for dear life just for the money." And as soon as that went into my head, and again, you know, a lot of players will tell you this: as soon as it creeps into your head, it's gone. You know, you're gone.
That's
and it was like that.
That's very noble of you, because myself and Paul we hung around a bit too long. And just for the
about 26 shuffling around at second row, avoiding tackles and crying.
Yeah, I just didn't fancy it.
I can't let you go yet, because we haven't touched on something which is dear to my heart, which is Sean is always a man who lets us know about his long and dear time as coach of the Ospreys. We have someone on the show right now who scored a hat trick in 5 minutes.
I thought we got away with it.
That was a good day.
It was a horrendous day. It was
that was the day when Jerry had been out the night before in Melrose, wasn't it?
Correct.
I don't know if you want to tell that story, but that's I mean, a side story, but that's a great story. The guy got melted in the borders the night before the game, because Saturday is his night out, and whether he's got a game the next day or not, he got melted. But the village that Edinburgh is, the next morning we all woke up before the game, and there's this text going around like he's hammered. Anyway, the guy managed to get a taxi back to Edinburgh and play. And to be fair, he was one of your standout players that game. But I was actually not selected for that game, so I was sitting on the bench in the sun in the West Stand, and Simon Webster was playing. He'd been injured for a while, and he got a chance to play again. And I was on the bench, and quite warm. Sun was in my face, and I started to doze off. So I'm sitting there on the bench, and I'm literally trying not to fall asleep. And I'm going, and literally within the space of 10 minutes, Webbo does something to his Achilles or something like that, and comes off, and the shout comes up, Tim, you're on. And I've not even watched the game, right? Because I'm falling asleep, and I'm going, oh shit. So I stand up, take my gear off, get on, and literally within the space of 5 minutes, I scored 2 tries, and then I'm pretty 3.
This is making it much worse for Sean. It sounds like you didn't even want to score those tries.
No,
well, not many people score a hat-trick against the Ospreys, particularly back then, but it was like the game had gone in a flash. Tim had just taken it away from us, and it wasn't like people were falling off rubbish tackles. He had just cut us apart.
Gas.
Yeah, we were in a heyday back then. We were a good side, So fair play to him. I haven't slept since.
Right, Fish 1167 with a question. What was your favourite Scotland game, Tim?
I think first caps are always really special. My first cap was probably even more special because it was away in Fiji, so it's 38 degrees. I was boiling up, and I managed to score twice, which was really nice. But I think my favourite game is probably, and sorry guys, it was against Wales in 2017, mainly because for the first time in my life I managed to save a try, I set up a try, and I score a try, and it's the first time we beat you guys in a very long time. And I've told this story a number of times now, but it was even better because the day before I'm sitting in a coffee shop with Jamie Roberts, and we're having coffee on George Street, and we're playing together against each other. I think he was on the bench, and I said, what do you reckon tomorrow? And he looked me square in the eye and went, no one in this Welsh team has ever lost to Scotland. That's what he said. And the next day, we're literally squaring them away, obviously, really quite well. And I just remember the day, the moment after the game in the hospitality suite, he's standing at the bar with a beer in his hand, and we've locked eyes, and I've started walking up to me, and he just goes, oh, for fuck's sake. And it was just brilliant. I mean, for that reason alone. But yeah, that was easily my best game in the Scottish game.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I love it, and that makes me want Jamie Roberts back in a Welsh shirt even more.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to start a petition or something. We need to get
there we're talking. Tim Visser, thank you very much for joining us in Under 6, and good luck with Rugby Bash.
We'll thank you very much. Yeah,
brilliant.
Find us
Thanks,
on Twitter,
Tim.
please. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Hello, dude. What a brilliant guest.
He was great, and I know we had a couple more questions in, but Tim was stuck for time, so we're really thankful he could squeeze us in. That was good. I enjoyed that. I particularly enjoyed
not your average guest, is he?
That's fantastic.
He's one where you could chat for a while, because even how you get from the Netherlands to the Newcastle Academy to playing for Scotland is actually a long chat in its own right. Really. Even the fact that he was originally, he played for England schools as a flanker and a lock. You know what I mean? It's like there's this whole part to Tim Visser that I really think would be fascinating.
He does himself a disservice, man. He was a hell of a good player. He was. So fast.
And Sean's point as well, if you never saw Tim Visser in the flesh, he was a big dude.
Massive. Yeah.
Big dude. 6'5" and big.
And trim as well.
Yeah, pure athlete. Second most tries ever scored in the Guinness Pro 14. Tommy Bowe, 67. Tommy Bowe.
Took it away from me.
Tim Visser and DTH van der Merwe, it's 58-58. Craig Gilroy, 55. Andrew Trimble, 50. Dan Evans, 47. Don't sleep on Tim. More evidence for naps being very, very good for people. Right, where will we go next? We've started in Scotland, England, so let's continue. there, right? So Scotland, England, lads, it was bloody great. Have to say now, we didn't talk very much about Stuart Hogg, and I think we should, because Stuart Hogg is a hugely talented footballer, but we saw a performance that I'm going to say I'm not sure I've seen a performance like that from Stuart Hogg before, which was completely controlled and assured.
Yes.
It was superb.
Yeah, that looked Lionsy. That looked like Lions 15 shirt standard, which in the past I think people have always questioned his defence and is he good enough? But he was absolutely fantastic on the weekend at everything. I think it's the best I've seen him play for Scotland, and I've seen him play for Scotland incredibly well in the past. But that was the most complete I've seen him.
What I think we got with Stuart Hogg now is a level of maturity. I think, look, he's got a young family. He's become a dad. He's moved to Exeter. He's have to show he's no longer the biggest fish in Glasgow. He now is amongst a championship European winning team, so he has to fit in and prove his worth. And we're seeing that level of leadership and maturity and responsibility on the field. And you can see, I think Rob Baxter's probably just instilled a level of belief in him that he didn't think he could have another level. So I think that's what we saw, and that's why you say it's a Lions-y performance. I was chuffed for him because his all-round game, all right, good in the air, good at countering attack from loose kicks, stepping up at 10, we know all that. But the spiral bomb down the corner, the responsibility of just that's Gavin Henson like,
I needed to sit down for a while after that.
Yeah.
It was just
it was brilliant. And a very quick Stuart Hogg story. I was on a cruise with my family, right, a couple of years back, and I've been running around the deck as I would in the morning, and this gentleman comes up to me now. He's older than me, and he comes up and he says, "Are you Sean Holley?" I've gone, "Oh God, I'm on holiday." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I love you on TV with your analysis." And I said, "Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Where are you from?" He said, "I'm Stuart Hogg's dad."
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hoggy's mum and dad were on the same crew. And that was it then. I was like, how much you comment about my son and the way they play? I said, and you could see that he's had a great upbringing. His parents are absolutely lovely, and just goes to show, he's a great lad. He's a lovely lad, but he's now coming into his prime. It's great to see.
Yeah,
it was great. And look, we drained England, Scotland a little bit with Tim, and so we won't do it here. But I will say that it was wonderful to see the Hamish Watson, the man who Justin Tipperick wishes he could be, play so well.
I've said it before, pound for pound, is there a better carrier in rugby world in the game? Ardie Sevilla and him, in terms of weight to power, is not much better.
He's fantastic. He really is. So look, well done, Scotland. First win in RFU HQ for, I think, 38 years. Phenomenal. We toasted you very well that night. Wales, Ireland. We're getting to it. Wales 21.
Oh yeah, Wales played Ireland on the weekend.
McGeady looks a bit flushed all of a sudden.
It's been emotional. So genuine question, right? So Paul, look, what was this match like from a Welsh fan perspective?
Do you know, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I thought you were going to say, are Welsh fans happy? And I don't think they are happy. It's more relief. Right, but in the same way that if you've been on a 5-hour car journey and you go for a slash, at the end of it, you're relieved, but you're not happy. And that's what this game felt like. You shouldn't have to make 250 tackles against 14 men, right? And you shouldn't need 4, I think it was 5 actually, of the pack to make 20 tackles each. And you shouldn't have 36% of the ball against 40 men for such a long period. Now, having said that, they've won, and that's great, and the points are on the board. But I don't even think the coaching staff, other than Gethin Jenkins, right, because they had a 90% defence completion with 250 tackles. And as Sean will know, that is ridiculous tackle. That's ridiculous defence, isn't it, Sean? But I don't think they'll be over the moon. I don't think supporters will be. I mean, it's a win, but it won't make them happy. Relieved, yes.
Well, look, 2 things about that, right? One, you swallowed the Opta Stats handout for this week.
I looked at that myself.
Yeah, you swallowed it. You just regurgitated all of them.
Tasty.
The second thing is, when you're playing against 14 men, then they're not going to stretch you that much. You'd expect the extra man to defend at a 90+% tackle percentage, right? So, that's one thing. I was just disappointed in Wales' possession retainment, the number of turnovers that they gave away. The line out, again, was a real weakness for us. And I genuinely was thinking at the end, Ireland probably just deserved to win it. And that's why the Burns kick was so, even as a Welsh fan, I was relieved, but I was so frustrated. I was like, he'd kicked it across field with 3.5 minutes to go, and I was thinking, what are you doing? They managed to get it back through 2 piggybacks, really. Gareth Davis's brain fart, if I can say that, kicking it away, and then George, I think it was, with hands in the ruck. I thought, this is it. It's written in the stars. And thankfully, he did miss it, but it's sacrilege, really, missing that.
Did the Gareth Davis thing get enough play? On a different day, he would get absolutely hung out for that. I mean, it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary at the time, but then so much happened. Like, there was another 3 minutes of play after that.
Reaction? Did you see the Dan Bigger reaction?
He went
There's
mad.
an angle, and on the ref mic, Dan Bigger goes apoplectic, for obvious reasons, and it nearly resulted in the turnaround at the end, didn't it? But
it was an astonishing thing to do.
The one thing that I don't know whether we're going to be allowed to talk about this for too long, but just this one thing about the Welsh line-out. So in the last 4 months, say, the younger hookers who've been stepping up in Ken Owens' absence have all had the blame, right, for the line-out completion. So Ryan Elias had it, and whoever's been in there, Elliot D, they've all had the blame. Ken Owens came back. It was the same problem. So this is a coaching question for Sean now. Does that mean it's more of a systematic problem in the line-out? Only because as a lay person watching it, right, it doesn't even seem to be about the throw. Whenever there was an Irish defensive jumper in the air, they were like 6 inches beneath. And that isn't a throw thing, that's a timing thing. Why is the defending jumper so close to the fingertips of the Welsh jumper?
It always goes to the hooker, right? That's what the lay person sees. And it's such a combination of things, right? It could be a real good read from the defense, right? That the caller has made the wrong call. That it is perceivably an underthrow or an overthrow. But if it's a dynamic line out, a complex line where the pods are moving, they may have gone, say the hooker's thrown to 7 meters. Something he's visualizing he needs, and he does in practice 7 meters. The jumper might have gone to 6.5.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the throw's bang on, but he's gone to the wrong position.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things in that way. And if you notice in the second half, Humph must have said at halftime, we're just going to try and take the front quick. They went to a funny, what warranted the try, the Lewis Zaman try, was a little funny at the front, what we used to call an Andy Allen, so they did, second row just takes it.
Yeah.
And in other words, resort into just winning mentality, and that's been a real struggle for me, because I coached for 7 years with him, and he's brilliant. He's a brilliant set-piece coach. So I'm struggling with it at the moment, whether the boys are understanding the philosophy, carrying onto the field, the execution's not right. I think it's like I said on TV, I think it's a combination of lots of things. They're lacking in confidence in that area. We've got to get it right. Scotland are really good in that area.
Lads, can I just tell you, from an Irish perspective, hearing you complain for the last few minutes about that
it's been really music to your ears.
So there's a lot going. Tim referred to some of the collisions, not specifically in this game, perhaps, but there's 5 HIA referrals in this game. There was some crunching stuff going on. It was a bit of a tale of 4 quarters for me, especially when watching bits back. Like, Wales. It's not that they started well, but Ireland were not great. Then you got the red card, and then Ireland played really well after the red card. Like they had 5 minutes of just, all right, lads, get your head back into this. We need to change game plan. Then the second 20, that first half, they were fantastic. I was going, great. But then, Sean, that third quarter of the game, Ireland were not at the races. And to me, that was a major, major part of this game.
Yeah, penalties crept in, didn't they? Ill discipline crept in, and that is always a killer. It's that what we would refer to as piggyback penalties, nice and easy. get outs, and Wales got field position from it, because Wales weren't really making any inroads, were they? You know, they weren't really creating a lot. Think back to George's try; it was a turnover, wasn't it? Now, very uncharacteristic. Ireland were doing all the right things. I think about contingency, 14 men, right, a long way to go. And Ringrose just tried a little uncharacteristic offload, probably a natural thing. I'm playing for Ireland. I'm playing for Leinster. We're a better side. I normally have a guy that, oh no, shouldn't have done that. Next thing you know, in international rugby, no matter who you're playing against, George has got it and he scored. And that sort of gave Wales a little bit more belief. So I tend to agree. But it's just one error. I thought, because I said on our group, didn't I, 10, 12, 13 have to step up now. And 12 and 13 in particular, I thought were immense. Henshaw
was brilliant, wasn't he?
Low stepped up and carried, even took his hairband out of his hair. He was that serious.
Big gesture. Yeah, but you're right, though, because Henshaw carried then like O'Mahony, didn't he? He was there every, pick, go. Fantastic. I thought, as we're talking about I thought that George North played very well as well, whilst we're talking about centres, because he's had a lot of stick recently, that boy.
Yeah, he did good. And he's played there before. It's not as if he's never played there before, but he was good. I thought Ringrose and Henshaw were fantastic. I mean, Keenan had another super game. I mean, for a man who does not have a lot of caps, not even a lot of like senior rugby, not years and years of experience, despite his age, man, he's a good player. And Tyg Byrne, he was loving it out there. He was still hunting at the end. We haven't talked about the Peter O'Mahony red card because there's not much to talk about, folks.
It's obvious. Do you know? And what's annoying is the people are using it to almost nullify or dilute the victory. It's not one of those red cards that's iffy, and it's like, you couldn't do that in 1965. So
the TMO picked it up in 1965. That's the big difference.
Yeah, but you've never been able to do that. Shoulder people in the face.
If you go back to the start of the season, Munster at the Scarlets, he does exactly the same thing.
Yes, he did.
As Munster scored try, he comes in late and unnecessarily and gives an elbow forearm. I think it's to Jake Ball. I can't remember.
I remember the incident you're talking about.
I think it was Jake Ball. Yeah.
And so like that stuck in my mind straight away. I love Peter O'Mahony the way he plays because he got a fire in his belly, but he's got a little bit too much red mist now. He has cost his team victory. No question. They have had to soldier on, and they won't say that, and they won't say that Billy Burns' kick cost us. Of course, it cost you. That one did. That one kicked you in the nuts, and there was absolutely zero need for it in the game. I'm disappointed in him. I am.
And the one that did slip by, and it isn't there were a lot of things that cost Ireland when you get to the end of that game. It's never the last thing that causes you to lose that game. There's a lot of things that build up to lose that game, but Billy Burns had a few of them. There was the kick that went out in the full. That's one. There was the obvious one at the end. There was also a pass in between after Ringrose had made that break. Ireland had suddenly got into a very good position. And there's a pass that loses Ireland 20 meters and put them back in their own half again when you're already in out of time. It wasn't a good few minutes, but he's a really talented player, and hopefully he's a player who'll come back from that. But it's going to be a tough one. We're going to keep moving through this game here. I did bring up the Johnny Williams one. Rugby Scribbler, great comment here. Wales and Ireland channeled the inner Scotland in the final minutes. Scotland, for once, didn't.
That's a nice summation.
Paul, are you grabbing that for your column? Yeah,
that's going in. Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to mention is Sean and I both agreed how well Maro Itoje played on the weekend.
No, we didn't.
So, yeah, we did. We did mention. I just thought I'd get that in. Sean agreed with me about it all, so it's fine.
Guys,
next game.
Guys, living offside.
Never tweet about Maro Itoje. Let me tell you.
So there's a lot of stuff in the comments tonight about Johnny Williams. So I'm on that should have been reviewed.
Let's get
100% reviewed.
Let Andy have his moment in court. Come on.
No, I'm just saying that there's no way that should not have been reviewed in that game if we've got a TMO. No way.
I agree with you. I don't think. Yeah, I agree with you. It should have been reviewed. I'm not.
All right. No, the question is, we've all reviewed it. So what's the outcome?
It's so I said at the time, yellow minimum had to be reviewed, right? Yellow minimum. I think if that's reviewed, framework gives it as red. I think that if you had a very clever arbiter on Johnny Williams' side, he could get it downgraded to a siding commissioner's warning as a just shy of red. But there is no way that is not a card. No way.
I agree with you.
That's my view.
Seeing Sean, he's looking angry. Actually, you can see he's bubbling.
Holly
I
disagrees.
understand framework, and I understand that. We go back here to orange cards. I mean, I don't think that incident warrants the same as the Peter O'Mahony incident. I don't.
But they're different incidents. They're not. They're not. There's a tackle and it's a clear out. They're two different.
That's my point about the discussion we had back in the summer about orange cards. I think Peter O'Mahony deserves to be rightly punished with a red. I am not so sure that Williams does. I don't.
Or they adopt my suggestion of the purple velvet glove for any proper shithousery, like Peter O'Mahony. And then, so it's red for not, and then you get a really demeaning little glove and you go like that and just wipe it on their face. And then you send them off. 7 points, and then the little glove on the face, one of those little Nazi slaps. Bang, off you go. And you know where you are.
And now we are moving from this game. We're moving on. Ewan Davies' comment is a good segue into the France-Italy match. There's one minor problem, Ewan. It's very, very long, so I don't think we can actually put it all on screen. But here it is.
It's my
It's going to cover me. But yeah, what do we think about Warburton's opinion on Italy? So we're not even going to get there first, because I want to think about what we saw in that game. Because if you see with Italy's history in the championship, 50 points to 10 at home.
Yeah.
What's your immediate takeaway? Italy, same again. But I saw a very frightening France, and I actually saw a lot of good things from Italy in that game, Paul.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you look at the stats, which I've swallowed probably directly from the bottle feeder on Opta, but they both carried right at about 500 meters each, which to me normally indicates that they haven't been blown away, right? They did some things to a reasonable level. But like you say, that 50-0 hammering, that's not akin to like a hammering of France 5 years ago. That's more akin now to taking a beating off New Zealand. That French team is very good. It's like, it's like playing South Africa or Australia or New Zealand in their pomp. So 50-10 isn't really a fair reflection. And I almost think they're nearly starting again now, Italy, with a new generation of young players. So this is like Italy, the reboot. So all of the youngsters that they've got coming through, they've sort of not quite started again, but it's almost like setting fire to the grass and just having, a little bit of a reburn. So I think I agree with Sam Warburton on an awful lot of stuff, right? But I don't think it is right to get rid of them. I think in 2 or 3 seasons, they'll be an awful lot better for the players they've got in there.
Andy,
I know we've said that before.
For those listeners, what did Warburton say?
It's sorry. With summarizing, long story short, is Italy. Why are Italy in the championship?
Yeah.
Well, they're in the championship because they're better than all the others.
Yes.
They are.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, and former Italian coaches and current ones will tell you that Italy are getting better. Unfortunately, all the other 5 teams are getting better every year as well, but just a little bit more, or a lot more in France's case. We haven't seen France like this for years. Yes, they've still been better than Italy, but all of a sudden they've got a couple of crops of under 20s that they've nurtured through Marcoussis, and now they come into fruition after successful World Championship wins. That doesn't happen overnight. And fair play to Franco Smith in Italy. They've blooded quite a lot of youngsters in there. A lot of people didn't recognize half of those players. Certainly some of the back 3, the 9 and 10, the 19 and 20. Some of the back rowers, crikey Moses, they are young. They're playing on the flank in their provinces. I think Lavini played 8, didn't he? All right, you got some experience in CC at 4. Negri played 6, and there's young talent coming through there.
You've got young props, which makes a massive difference.
But You're right. You look at their play, and there's some real. I thought the halfbacks were good. Yes, they made errors, but some of the halfback play was really, really good. You know, some of the back three play was really good. They just let's keep our powder dry until all the other nations have played France.
That's it.
And Italy.
And you wait, you wait till Italy have played Wales, right? And they'll give Wales a reasonable game. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, that's the one thing for me. So I will say, Harley Worthy saying no. The point. So I over summarized Warburton's comments, which is fair, right? The point was that there should be a playoff relegation
with Georgia.
It's the same thing, right?
It is.
You know, it's.
You are right.
But you're right, Harley. You're right. There was a more to it than my Blythe comment. But that's why I'm here. France are looking scary, genuinely scary, and I think this French team could beat. I think now that we've seen England not do much, I think they could beat any team in this championship by 20, 30 points on their day. Anyone, including England. If England played like that against this France team, they will get absolutely mullered.
Well, so stick 35 on them if they play like that.
Italy could do very good things against someone as well, because Varney and Garbisi showed a lot out there. There was some naivety as well in defence, and we're actually not going to get there tonight. But there's some stuff going on there, Sean.
And stop the bus. Look at the team that played in the Autumn Nations Cup final against England. A load of them not playing. Vakatawa. Have a look at their bench on the weekend. You know, who are just waiting to come on.
On the sheet ends.
Yeah. We, you know, and Mac, by the way, sorry. Hello, he's not there. They're in a real brilliant place, and they're in the mood, and I do think there'll be an Ireland backlash. I know we don't look ahead too much, but I do think there will be an Ireland backlash. They're too good. We got too many good players, and it almost needed Ireland to get beat and have a bit of an incident to sort of really rocket them in. So it could be a cracking weekend, apart from England, Italy.
Don't know. Let's see. There's always hope.
Oh, imagine that.
Never know.
Then we'll have some comments next week. Imagine that.
Imagine John Mitchell this week.
So we've still got a lot to get through still, lads. I'm getting slagged here for not keeping the pace up, but here we go. So
there's lots to get through, man.
In the comments, so you know what we are going to get through before we get to some of the best comments and questions for tonight. We're going to just touch on the Connacht Dragons now, then Coach of the Month, then our rugby video game topic too. So have a think about that.
We have got a lot to think about.
Right, so we've got England, Italy, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, France coming up at the weekend. France are now favourites for the championship, and England plummet from top 2/3 favourites. Scotland now second favourites. But what do we know? That's just the money going in and out of the bookies at the moment. Right. There was bonus rugby, or as someone reminded me on Twitter, it's more you were owed this rugby, so you got it. We had Dragons playing Connacht. And this turned into a very, very good win for Connacht. 4 tries, bonus point win on the road against a Dragons team who we have said again and again are playing some good stuff this season. Sean Holley.
They are, and they're not, mate. I think I'm starting to run out of patience, a little bit like Dean Ryan. I think they're flattering to deceive a little bit now. All right, you know, they got some good tries in this, from which you're going to see, but Connacht, I enjoy watching Connacht play. They're a little bit frustrating because they do give up, you know, it's nip and tuck, high scoring stuff, but I love their halfbacks. You know, I just love their centers. This hooker was outstanding. Papali was as usual. You don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get red mist or brilliance. To their credit, this is an area that the Dragons have really improved on. You know, the patience here with Ben Fry, and then the old stalwart Hibbs winning his 50th cap for the Dragons. You know, this third club where he's had 50 plus appearances. Fair play to him. And he got 3 of those. But what they're lacking is, like Jamie playing at 12, but Jack Dixon is not a distributor. So you can't, all right, Tompkins was with Wales, but they need to find better distributors. We've said a lot about Rodri Williams and Sam Davis at halfback, but they need to step up now. We've said a lot about Ashton Hewitt and Owen Jenkins and all of these young players and Harrison Keddy and that. but they're not getting over the line. We can praise them in defeat, and they play some nice stuff. I'm not nothing against Connacht; they're a good side, but you should be beat. You want to beat Connacht at home. It's a fixture. You earmark that you win 21-17. You know what I mean? And then instead, Connacht run out with a bonus point try, win. So it's been a frustrating season. Bits and bobs, a lot of time in between, COVID, injuries, international call-ups. But I think Dean's getting frustrated, Paul.
Yeah, and do you know what I think? What interested me about it, and it's going back to the Welsh line-out issues. 6 of the 7 tries in the match were from line-out.
Yeah.
And the majority of them, let's face it, they're 10 meters and under, most 5 meters. It just goes to show you, even the, some of them were from cross kicks, some of them were from the first pass out, like that one to Papalili, and he didn't get red carded on his first touch, which is good news. But 6 out of 7 from line outs, that tells you a lot. No line out, no win.
Yeah, but
And
where do you get
that Tom Daly line? Oh,
yeah, you get the line outs from penalties.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And and then that proves how important the middle of the field is. I don't know. Complicated game sometimes, isn't it?
It is a complicated game, and sometimes we oversimplify, and then sometimes, we hit the sweet spot. Maybe once every 3 weeks, right?
I love the drop goal. I love the drop goal. I mean, I texted you at the time, didn't I? Love a drop goal. I don't care how scruffy it is. Give me a 10. Give me a 10 like that. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
He's a very unorthodox toolbox, is Jack Carthy, and
I love him.
I love to watch him play. He kicks the ball like few other people, and he can kick it in different ways, which is always, to me, it's fascinating. But Connacht are now 10 points behind Munster, and they play each other in 4 weeks' time. So let's quick look. Conference A is unsullied by that. Leinster top, 40 points. Ulster second, 46. Ospreys third, 27. A bit of a gap then to Glasgow and Dragons, who are 15 and 14 respectively, but with a game in hand. Zebre just a point behind, 13 points, but haven't played a game more. Conference B, Munster, as mentioned, they're 10 points ahead of Connacht, 42 and 32 points respectively. Both have played 11. Cardiff Blues on 26, Scarlets 25, but both of those sides have played 12 matches. Edinburgh in 5th, 19 points. Benetton way back on 5 points. This weekend, more, I won't use the term bonus rugby anymore. It's more rugby we're owed. Dragons versus Edinburgh, Friday night, 7:35, Rodney Parade. And Saturday afternoon, Glasgow against Benetton, and that's in Scottstown. So
can I get a shameless plug, Andy? There's another fixture going on Friday afternoon. It's Blues against Ospreys, friendly. It'd be like an A side, still, Guinness Pro 14 familiar. I'll be commentating on that one. So
nice.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see some of the backstory, some of the young players for those two games, those two teams.
Now talking, we can always plug that. Is that the Cardiff Blues? Yeah.
Cardiff Blues. The first game back at the Cardiff Arms Park since it's been revamped.
Nice. Oh, that'll be good.
Now,
2:30. See you there for a distance.
For a wave. I'll just wave over the back.
Sorry, newsworthy. There is a player who Harley Worthy in the comments has mentioned. Ellis Jenkins is back. There's a man who was out for a very, very, very long time.
Well, that's a different thing. Wow.
Yeah. That'll be big. January 2021, the Pro 14 Coach of the Month. Congratulations to, drum roll please, as was announced on Friday, in association with Loch Lomond, who, when we all have some here, our winner is Leo Cullen of Leinster. Congratulations. So this was the big result which people will have noticed was the Connacht loss. But then go down to Munster, win there, beat Ulster. There's a lot of other things that went very well. And yes, Leo Cullen won. Can we get to the point where some Twitter mentions filled up? Because you know what? We are very upfront on this show and we don't shy away. A lot of people thought that Toby Booth would win. But I have the mechanism of the votes to tell everyone why Leo Cullen won, but we'll get to that in a second. Sean, Leo Cullen, deserving winner?
Yes, he's a deserving winner. I personally would have picked Toby Booth for the reasons I illustrated last week. 3 away wins in the month, unbeaten, the only Guinness Pro 14 team in the month to be unbeaten. But Leo, yes, he has proved it over a longer period, but it is a Guinness Pro 14 Loch Lomond Coach of the Month. However, he is deserved because week in, week out, he churns out level after level of teams and players. You know, I did Scarlett's Leinster commentary for Premier Sports a couple of weeks ago. He blooded another one. Wasn't even in the academy. Jamie Osborne, 19 in the centre. Look, the world beaten him 4 touches. It's unbelievable. You know, I've been lording over the next guy at 15, the next guy at 7, the next guy at 9 and 6. And I've had an education of Leinster, and he's at the top of that. And he's managing a high profile, probably highly egotistical coaching team, as well as some big name international players. So, you know, he's a worthy winner. Yes, he is. But on this occasion, for the monthly vote and moving forward, all our listeners, please take note for the month. Let's do it like that. Toby probably was up there.
Paul, how's your whiskey?
Very good, actually. I am not a whiskey connoisseur like you. You will know an awful lot better. But to my novice taste buds, it's beautiful.
I'm very happy. This arrived today, folks, because the other lads, because they're in Her Majesty's Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, they are not impacted by Brexit, so they got their bottles earlier than me. Mine only
One of the
arrived.
advantages.
The only
Mine only
advantage.
arrived today.
And we can catch our own fish. Brilliant.
Yes. So this arrived today. Loch Lomond. Let's get this. Loch Lomond, 12-year-old single malt. This is my first glass of it, and I'm okay with this. I can get involved in this, though I will have to say it's 40. It's bottled at 46, which is at the pointier end. So your standard might be 40%, and then you get some 43s. 46 is becoming more common, and for those of you into your whiskey, cask strength is becoming very, very strong now, as in a thing that people want to see. And then you're getting up to sort of 54 to 59%.
Jesus, really?
So you need to water that down, or else you
burn the house down with that.
I'm drinking it neat, yeah.
Bit of water.
Oh, Holly.
I mean,
A little bit of water to taste.
It is nice, though. Are you allowed to have water with it? Because I don't know things like this. Are you allowed to put a tiny drop of water?
I would always have a little drop of water. Some people prefer ice. Some people have ice and water. I like a little drop of water just to freshen it a little bit. Open it up.
What are you saying, And, when you taste it? I mean, you know, what are you sensing from it? Because, like, I don't drink a lot of spirits, if I'm honest, but I actually quite like this.
Nice taste.
A lot, Roman. But what do you? Obviously, the whiskey taste. But what do you get?
So if I smell that, right, so I'm going to go into absolute whiskey dick. There's a bit of a kind of an iodine thing off the nose. That's what I describe it as. That's not a bad thing, right? And then when you taste it, it's very smooth.
The word that comes to my mind is smoky.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I wouldn't call it smoky, not compared to some of the Scottish Island ones, but we shall get we'll get some of our friends in from Loch Lomond maybe some other time. We can really go into this.
Cheers, Loch Lomond.
Yeah, thank you, Loch Lomond.
I'd be very happy to do this. Hold on, let's go into the next thing. Yes, nice whiskey, says Graham Kerr. Yes, allowed water. I definitely think you should have a bit of Andrew Cowman referring to other brands right now in a segment where I'm talking about Loch Lomond is not going to get your comment on screen. That's all I'm saying. Right? Let's go back to one thing here before we talk more about whiskey. So we did. There was a bit of fuss from, I think the official term is from Australia, about the Toby Booth not winning. And so this is where straight up the guys have told us from the Pro 4 team, they're going to look at the mechanism. Let's see how they can make it a bit more transparent, because the Twitter votes were public, the Instagram votes were public, but people couldn't see what was on stories, for example, right? I don't even use stories because I'm an idiot. But I have the breakdown here, and it's the overall was Leo Cullen 35%, and the vast chunk of that was from Instagram and Facebook stories. Andy Friend 27%, Toby Booth 22%, Michael Bradley 16%. So one of the things that we've been told to be looking at is, okay, well, if there is a huge Irish fan base for rugby, well, is it fair that it's completely a fan vote? These are the things they look at, folks. And look, get your comments in, get your feedback in, because I'm sure they want to hear it. They want to make sure that this is an award that the championship will be very happy with, that like Lomond will be happy to sponsor it. They will be happy to talk about. So maybe it's someday the fans are putting together a vote for who the candidate should be, and idiots like us decide it. Who knows?
Well,
Imagine the power.
At the end of the day, what we don't want is people voting just because it's their team. You know, and that is inevitably going to happen.
Yeah.
Even though I'm an ex-Osprey coach, I still look at it and think, well, what's the criteria? What's the qualification? What's the performances, the results, and any other side issues in that month? And let's make a rational decision that way. I know what it's like. It's very parochial, isn't it? So I'm sure that Guinness Pro 14 will look at the mechanisms and work it out. But there were 4 worthy nominations, that's for sure.
That's the important thing. All of them deserve to win, and whichever one was picked, you know.
Yeah, and I will say that we Irish have form when it comes to polls. If anyone has time in their hands and wants to look at Ronnie O'Brien, who won Time Magazine's Person of the Century poll, that is worth your time. It is absolutely worth your time.
I'll have a look at that after.
So let's finish that off. So look, that's the 12-year-old. I have not had the delight of having the Loch Lomond 18. That's the one that actually goes to to Leo Cullen and to the other coaches who will win this award. So visit Loch Lomond Malts. That's at Loch Lomond Malts on Twitter to discover the spirit within. Let's look forward to next month. Play well in February, lads. There's fewer games, but we'll make sure someone gets there. Rugby video games.
Right, here we go.
Here we go. Okay, right. We've touched on this previously. Video games are a very, 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 very big thing. And there have been some notable games in the past. Under the Sticks ran a poll earlier on today. Does rugby need a legit video game franchise to keep it relevant? Yes, Madden for rugby, 84.4%. No, we had Lomu on PS1, 15.8%.
25 years ago.
657 votes, and that's within the first 2 hours, right? So that's still open, I think. I can be correct on that, but I think that's still open. So yeah, look, it's a thing. Lomu Rugby, Paul, we've talked about this before. I mean, you were a big fan. Lots of people were a big fan. It has never been successfully. We've never got back to that peak.
No, we haven't. You know, I might have been Gowett and Seconds level at real rugby, right? But Jonah Lomo, I was British Lion standard test Lion.
British and Irish Lions.
Oh, I've done it again. British and Irish Lions. Oh, Holly.
My Irish friends there.
Swine. You know, I think for a sport to be public facing and popular now, you need to have a presence on a game platform. You just do. All of the big ones do. You think how important, I know they're far bigger sports, but you think how important FIFA is to football. And, you know, with the e-gaming trends now, and I know it's very difficult because rugby's a very small market, but what I can never quite understand is even some of the recent games which I've played and have been good to a degree, they don't have that playability of Jonah Lomu Rugby. And to me, it seems strange because you've got the mechanic of something like John Madden's, which is very similar in terms of the contacts, and I know the tackles and the animations would be very different. But to my naive mind, it seems that there must be a base engine there. Oh, there we go.
Sweeney's in the house.
Andrew Swain, friend of the pod from Australia. I'd have you in Lomu Rugby, Williams.
Well, I tell you what, we'll set that up, Swaino. It's but
he's back next week. Super Rugby Australia.
Australian Super Rugby.
Good luck, Sweeney.
Yeah, but I just think we need to have that game back, you know. And if it exists for Madden, it can't be that difficult, surely, to add on top of that engine.
It's an interesting point Ewan Davis makes there. There's not enough rugby fans in the world to make the game profitable at a
That's
good
the problem.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, I see the point. Soccer and NFL has massive following, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But you have to start somewhere. I mean, you look at a British and Irish Lions tour. You look at a World Cup. It does have, a Six Nations significant prominence. There must be some sort of call for it. I would have thought.
Yeah, it's odd. But like you say, the economics of it must just be that there isn't enough cash in it. Otherwise, somebody would have done it if there was money in it.
Yeah.
If there was money in it, they'd have done it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you look at the impact that games can have. Like, why does a game become popular? It isn't just because I like that sport. It's also because, me and my mates play it and it's playable. Like you said, the playability of Loma was the thing that you loved about it. And that's what a good game is. I mean, I remember this is now a long time ago, buying an NHL game because I saw it get a really good review. I'd never watched an ice hockey game in my life.
No, same as
But it
me.
was great fun to play.
Yeah, I've never played American football, obviously, but I played all of those games in the early 90s. Do you know the white elephant, really? Well, the elephant in the room, not the white elephant, is just how difficult rugby is as a concept to function. Just the ruck and the mechanics of it and the dynamics. It's it's hard enough to watch, isn't it?
NFL, it's complex, and yet you have a play and it stops.
And it's quite
the fluidity
binary
of rugby. Yeah, the fluidity of rugby makes it quite difficult. Maybe if they brought like a sevens game out or something like that had rugby laws, but there was more space and more understandable, reduced numbers in scrums and lineouts, and then moved maybe to the bigger game. I don't know, but certainly, going back to NFL, I remember, I'm not a massive gamer, but I remember, and I'm the oldest on the pod, don't forget, that years ago, in a very basic form, there were like circles for players. Imagine looking down on like a checkers board. Circles. It was an NFL game, but you could pick formations to match the attack or the defense, the offense or the defense, and you just press play and it would run out for you. It would have a pattern of play. Now, I learned a lot about NFL from that game.
Right.
So I saw patterns and schema and space and all that. So when I came to watch and learn NFL on the TV, I understood. I understood it. So something like that for people to learn rugby in a much more fashionable, jazzy way, I think would be incredible. I think my middle boy is always game and he'd play it. That's for sure.
So I suppose the big thing is, are we talking about now, if it's a useful recruitment tool, should all of the unions stick 250 grand in, right? And then just develop the game. But at the moment, there's no money for anything. They can barely afford toilet paper, so they're not going to fund a PlayStation game.
It is funny, though, when you look at the impact that Madden had. Like, Madden is the prototypical example of this. Madden has actually influenced how the NFL is televised and broadcast.
Yes.
So for anyone who was up last night watching the Super Bowl, some of the things you will have seen in that broadcast that you consider normal were not there before Madden. So the yellow line on the screen, where you see the downlight, that was a TV innovation, right? But the mics you hear, the noise of the scrimmage. So when you have the snap and you hear the whoa, all that stuff, that was not there in old broadcasts. They didn't have mics there to get that. It was there in Madden. And they said, hold on, could we lift that up? People seem to like that a lot. And so they started that. There's the spider cam. So they've actually done this in America. They've trialed this broadcasting a couple of full games using the spider cam behind the quarterback. So instead of the sidearm, you're behind the quarterback. And that is straight out of Madden because that's how you view the game.
Yes,
and
of course.
Can you imagine, having a red button option to watch the rugby from behind the line to get that, what you'd call in American football, the all 22 view? Instead, you have the all 30 view in rugby to have that for stretches of the game. I think it'd be absolutely brilliant to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. You could also guess what was going to happen next then as well. Like guess the play or guess the pass, or is it going to kick or pass? Loads of options.
Little bit. I would think though that there'd be the complexity of rugby because it's so continuous, and the messiness of it at times, that's going to be really hard to simulate in something there. There's a lot of good comments coming in here, actually. So the Geronimo, how about piggybacking off the Olympics and create a sevens rugby game? All I hear there is get someone else to pay to make a sevens rugby game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I hear there. I like that a lot. You Die Brownie, you'd have to make it more arcade style than a simulation game. The first EA one on the Mega Drive in '95 was like that. Yeah, simplify.
Yeah, that's what I say. So you think back to Ben Ryan's concept, was that indoor thing, fives, was it?
Yes.
Something like that. Or there's scale down practice 1v1s to score a try. You know, you have Shane Williams against Jonah Lomu, right? And your 5 meter channel, 10 meters. Can Shane beat Lomu? You know, but you have tackle technique. Do you go high? Do you go low? Shane's got a sidestep or a swerve. That, you know, so you break it down, because the game is so fluid, as you say. You break it down into almost, I'm thinking, coaching practices. See?
Yeah.
You break it down like a coaching manual. So a line out. I've told you this before. I looked into trying to get a video game for line outs, so my boys could play the game and go up against Leinster's line outs that was simulated. And so it's a line out game. Oh, that's an option, right? So my line out's going against your line out. So we'll practice our line outs. We'll practice our variation, because there are people who like Madden Rugby or FIFA who get the coordination links and the complexity of the way a lineout works. They're those sort of, like Jonathan Thomas, the Ospreys, he's a lineout nerd, and there are one in every team.
Yeah.
So they'd enjoy that lineout competition, you know. That's the way I would get around it. You almost have a multifaceted,
simplify it into chunks,
into chunks, and then once you understand it and graphics can get there, we put it into a sevens game and then a bigger game. I don't know.
So you've thought about this a bit. So what features, and I'll ask both of you this question, and if you want to chip in the comments here as well, what features would you want to see in a rugby video game? So another sports game, you have like, I don't know, franchise modes, things like that. What features would you want to see in a rugby game? Paul?
I think the feature you need, right, to make it viable is a believable breakdown area, because that's the bit that always struggles. So you can do the passing and the tackling. What they've always struggled with is how you replicate the breakdown. Because, you know, do you do it like old school arcade games from the 80s where you just repeatedly tap a button to increase power? Or, you know, how do you replicate a ruck? It's insane. It's like half wrestling, it's half rugby, it's a weird thing to replicate. So that's the feature you need above all else. But I mean, if you know, the big thing you really need is the proper licenses, because without the licenses, all those games just fall flat. As soon as you've got to type in every name for Tonga, you know, no one's going to play. So the license is the big thing for me.
Sean, what feature would you want in a game to make it worthwhile or fun?
You know, I'm just going off my son playing FIFA. He gets most animated when he wins or buys a pack and he gets a player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you can formulate your team whereby it's almost like a barbarians team, but you have to earn the best players, or you win them in a pack. He opens a pack, there's 5 players, there's 4 duds, and he's got Ronaldo. You know, there's only 6 Ronaldos in the world, you know, and if you get him, you're going to go up your whatever, you know. So I think something like that, and that would get youngsters in particular used to names. You know, if you asked a lot of young rugby players outside of Connacht or outside of Ireland who Jack Carty was, they wouldn't know. So there's a chance for young gamers playing a rugby game to get to know players' names, which I think would be very important for buy-in. So and I'd like a coaching segment, a feature, you know, where you can go and learn about lineouts, learn about scrums, learn about passing, catching, kicking. I'd like that, obviously.
JMO James, it's still too soon. The feature JMO James would like
Jamo.
is touch
That's Jamo from Estelvera. This is Jamo's debut. This is Jamo's debut on Under the Sticks. He texted me today, how did I get on? I said,
hello, Jamo.
Tonight. And there's Jamo. Nice bit of sarcastic Welsh humour there. Yeah,
The
like
touch kick to the corner being executed correctly. It's too soon, my friend. Mac. Yeah, so this is a way
Well,
you
there we
could go
go.
with rugby, like
Yes.
like FIFA Street, but
Yeah.
rugby. So it's just like you'd be basically doing 5-a-side, no blood, no foul rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'd buy that immediately.
British Bulldog in essential. You know.
With a yeah.
We might
Gil-
run into
with a
trouble
Gilbert.
with the health brigade on that
That's
one.
a
Guy
good one.
Brownie. Yeah, super skills on players. The Shane Williams step or the Billy V Bosch.
Yeah.
You see now you're getting into something where you'd actually make it. It is a game, so you're not making it. It has to be reality.
No.
You can do anything you want with this.
Yeah.
You know, and that would be interesting. I like that.
Yeah, so Itoje offside.
Oh,
Yeah,
Itoje playing his guts out.
Well, Sean O'Farrell, I think a pack system like FIFA and a number system like from 10 to 100 and be able to build your own team and coach with
that's what I
rating.
was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like the going back to what you were saying, Sean, about the line out. Do you ever play the old golf games where to do the drive you have to sort of get the swing and the exact
Yeah,
right
still
way?
do.
Swingometer.
That's the one game I have on my phone because I'm a golfer. It's and it's just you got to tap it, and you could have that with your throw, couldn't you? So you cock the throw, and then it'll be certain angles and pace. Likewise with the jump. I don't know the dexterity of gamers. They've got 2 wheels, and they and buttons and
sticks.
God. Yeah.
It'd be good. There's something there. Okay. I think we're Andrew Cowman. It's OJ gobbing off as a distraction to the ref. It can be a superpower if used in the right way.
Oh
Okay.
God.
Okay. I think we're almost done. We're almost done. Where are we now? Are there any comments coming in? Comments of the week. Comments of the week.
There's loads. Been loads.
Best
game.
Best rugby video game and why? So that's Jonah Lomo all day long.
And why? Because it's the only one.
And it's just so playable. It's still the best game now, 26 years on.
Oh yeah.
Right. We're not going to force a debate about that. You can have the comments if you want, but we're not going to do it here. Jonah Lomo lives forever in video games. Peter Martin, what about being able to pick your own ref?
Yeah, Nigel Owens every time.
It depends. If your team was set up in a certain way, maybe you'd want something who actually enforced the breakdown of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not being flippant. Like, that would be interesting. Chiefs girl. Hello, Chiefs girl. Dennis Murray, completely agree. The amount of times that England are offside is ridiculous. They never get pulled for it. Rush defense, more like offside every day of the week. No comment. We won't kick them when they're down.
There is a perception there as well, right? You have assistant referees who see this, and it does. Trust me, I coached line speed. It looks like they're offside a lot of the time, but if you were to have slow-mo, they're not. But England are.
And Itoje in particular.
Toby Falconer, Garbisi at 10 has the potential to be the world-class playmaker Italy need, and he is accurate off the tee, which Italy have struggled with in the past.
I agree with all that.
We're excited about
Varney did well. Varney did well at 9 as well. He made some mistakes. We were going to cover off the try that Antoine Dupont kicked through. He was inexperienced there. He didn't move from his original defensive position. But the 9 and 10, you have to persevere with them. They're creative. They're ballsy, and it's good to see.
Yeah. Harley Worthy. Sean, what did you think about the McBride comments on Scrum 5 the other day? What were the McBride comments on Scrum 5?
I think it's the one what Harley's on about is where he commented about regional crowds not buying into regional rugby.
Yes.
I thought it was a bit of a cheap shot, really. I think, I go back to the day, 20,000 on Boxing Day for Osprey Scarlets. He's played in those on McBride. And, they just simply don't support sides that are not winning or not winning trophies. That's the same in life. You know, I'm sure a Scarlets team that Robin played in, although he played in successful ones, the crowds wouldn't come to watch them if they weren't winning or playing attractive football. So that's been the problem at the moment. You know.
Do you know what though? Also, some of those opinions don't even back up the data. So if you look back at some of those crowds pre-regional rugby, everyone likes to pretend there were 300,000 people going to Sardish Road.
Exactly.
It'd be like 3,500. Or, you know, at Stradey Park, there's 4,500 to watch them playing Bath. These numbers, it's, you know, it's like, you know, policemen used to be taller and summers used to be hotter. They didn't.
I like, do you know, I don't know whether it's the whiskey or you're actually talking sense tonight, Williams.
It's whiskey. We need to get your whiskey. He's never agreed with me more.
This is great. Whiskey has impacts on different people, but maybe we get nice Holly. This is great. Sean O'Farrell.
Yeah.
I think letting countries like Spain, Germany, and USA host a World Cup will help the sport grow in those countries. Rugby had exploded since the 2019 World Cup. There is something to that, provided, and it is the big one, provided the place on the ground has the infrastructure to do a World Cup. Well,
the USA does.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that in a day.
Well, yeah, it's a big place, though.
Can you imagine a World Cup in Germany? That would be brilliant.
All the beer.
Actually, I need a moment. Can you imagine? There's just like there's a load of beer. There's a load of chips with that beautiful mustard. There's currywurst,
like sausages. Like good stadiums, like you say.
I'm in. Ollie Hughes. Such a shame Barney's pass went forward. Did it? Did it really?
Well,
was it absolutely clear?
It was. It looked forward to me.
I'd be a rubbish TMO. I'd be like,
let it go.
If you're going to bring that one back, yeah, right. Okay. We're good. We're done. Folks, that is a wrap for tonight. We leave you in hope that there will be a UK and Ireland broadcast deal done for Super Rugby Aotearoa. Because otherwise there will be ructions. There will be ructions.
Tell you what, you'll see the greatest insurrection in this country since the mid 1700s.
It'll be big because Paul Williams will actually employ the Russians who were trying to take him out to take someone else out.
There'll be polonium everywhere. You won't know what's hit you.
But we'll see.
Green every 2 minutes.
So we'll leave you. Thank you, Tim Visser, who joined us at the start of the show for a great chat. Thank you, Sean Holley, the friendly Sean tonight. Thank you, Paul Williams.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Adam Redmond in the background. Thank you for all of you for giving us some of your time tonight, whether watching live or listening back. This was Under the Sticks, brought to you by Pro 14 Rugby. My name is the aggressively flat Andy McGeady. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. They call me cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. Ooh, chaka, cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. I love my cheetah, cheetah, cheetah.